Let's talk about our newest refugee here in Canada. Her name is Rahaf Mohammed al-Qunun. And in this video today, I'm going to tell you the truth about why she fled Saudi Arabia and why Canada took her in. So let's start with why she fled Saudi Arabia. She fled Islam. That's the only reason. And I have not read one report that even mentions the Islamic doctrine and Sharia that governs Saudi Arabia. So I read some of the articles that claim that it's because her parents were abusing her physically and emotionally. I don't doubt that. I actually think it's true. But that's a smokescreen. I mean, how many children in the world are abused by their parents physically and emotionally? And sexually, to be honest. How many people out there are doing that to their kids? There's a heck of a lot. But that doesn't make you a refugee. It's nonsensical, right? This is why there's children and family programs and social services. This does not make you a refugee. The reason she is a refugee and went to seek out refuge to another country that wasn't governed by Islam is because it's Islam that's persecuting her. She is what's considered to be an apostate. An apostate is somebody who denounces, renounces, criticizes Islam and becomes an ex-Muslim. And that apostate is mandated by the Sharia to be killed. So other Muslims have a duty to kill people who get away from Islam. And this is mandated in the Quran. So look, this is Sharia. So the reality is she is fleeing Islam. And that is why she's here. So why did Canada take her in now? This is 100% to virtue signal. So I have to remind you, Canada is the virtue signaling capital of the world. Like, we've turned it into almost like a meme. And under Trudeau, the Liberals would actually rather virtue signal than concern themselves with real issues like democracy, national security, veterans affairs, prosperity of Canadians. They really look at the town halls that Trudeau is doing. He's going across Canada, and the Liberals are claiming that it's for transparency and bringing the government closer to the people. But when you listen to the answers that Trudeau will provide during these town halls, it's either a word salad of nonsense when he wants to avoid a question, or an answer full of virtue signaling when it's a question that can glorify his own persona. So, like these town halls, they really should be renamed like the Trudeau Virtue Signaling Tour or something like that. Canadian Virtue Signaling Tour by Justin Trudeau. I don't know. I digress a little bit here. Back to Rahaf and how the Liberals have shamelessly used her as a pawn in their virtue signaling for the 2019 election. It's almost like Canada's saying, by bringing her in as a refugee and making a spectacle out of the whole situation, Canada's going, hey, look world, we're so progressive. We took her in. We can expedite these procedures. We are so fast at this. We can bring in refugees. We're so good. We're tolerant. We're the greatest country in the world. In your face, Australia, you guys weren't quick enough. Shame on you for not being fast enough and doing your proper checks on the background of this refugee and making sure she actually qualifies as a refugee. Shame on you, Australia. And in your face, Australia, Canada's going to take her in, right? This is essentially what happened. And enter after this, Freeland. And, sorry about that. If you don't know who Freeland is, she is the Minister of International Affairs. And she met Rahaf at the airport and paraded her in front of the media. She's like hugging her. Her hands are all over Rahaf. And I'm uncomfortable for Rahaf when I look at the images of that. Like, it's super creepy and awkward. She's almost treating Rahaf like she's a long lost friend that returned after years, and they were super close when they were young, and she's seeing her for the first time in 10 years. It's creepy. Like, it's like, Jesus, take your hands off of Rahaf, Christia. She doesn't need that. She doesn't need that. Anyways, Christia proceeds to bring her in front of the media, but just long enough to virtue signal and put on a bit of a show. But then she claims that Rahaf is too tired to say a few words in front of the cameras. So, okay, let's remind ourselves, Rahaf just spent a whole bunch of days on social media talking to people, and you're saying that now she's too tired to say a couple of words in front of Canadian media. No, I think the Liberals didn't want her to talk. They were afraid she was going to say something against the narrative, and they didn't have enough time to prep her on what to say. So the policy has been probably something like, better not let her talk, just in case she says something we don't want to hear. Like, I can imagine Rahaf going in front of the cameras going, thank you for saving me from Saudi Arabia. Like it was so bad out there because Islam threatened to kill me. And they didn't want her to say that or risk bringing Islam into this whole picture. They're trying to hide the fact that Islam has anything to do with this, because obviously Islam never has anything to do with Islam, right? So anyways, so what I find funny about that is that Chrystia Freeland claims that Rahaf is too tired to be speaking, but not too tired to be paraded in front of the cameras. It's just nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. And to me, that just signals that the Liberals are definitely silencing her. They don't want, there's something that they're worried she's going to say. And I think that as she's in Canada, they will also silence her here. So they will not let her or give her an opportunity to go and say anything about Islam or anything derogatory or negative about Islam. So how can I prove the Liberals don't actually care about Rahaf and simply used her for their virtue signaling? Well, it's easy. First of all, there's the moral ground, right? See, if you're a moral person, a moral human being, you're going to do the right thing consistently, whatever the situation you're in. But if you're a virtue signaler, you're only going to be caring about doing the right thing when somebody's watching. So like, for example, if there was a table in the middle of the room and it's not, there's money on it and it's not your money and you're left in the room alone, if you're a moral person, you won't care if there's a camera watching you or not, because you won't take the money. If you're a virtue signaling person, you're going to make sure there's no cameras and then take the money and then go outside and virtue signal that people steal. That's how it works. So if the Liberals were really moral, they would also denounce Islam. They would use this opportunity to say, look, we took in this refugee because she is fleeing Islam. Islam is a big problem towards women, and we cannot allow this to happen here in Canada. That would be the right thing to do. That would be the moral thing to do. But no, they're saying everything except for Islam. They're blaming parental abuse. Now, the Liberals have actually facilitated the growth of Islam in Canada over the last 4 years since Trudeau's been in power, so 3.5, 4. They have pandered to Muslims. They have enforced elements of Sharia in our democratic society. They have silenced criticism of Islam by bringing in things like M103, which is part of Sharia. They have funded Islamic terrorism abroad. And they have also given millions of dollars to people, to Islamic terrorists here, who have killed our allies. So what now for Rahaf, right? I don't think she's safe in Canada. We've allowed our government to Islamicize our own country, so even just people criticizing Islam in Canada are not safe anymore. But now that her face has been seen all over the news, the Saudis are going to work with Canadian Muslims to try to locate her. If the true agenda of the Liberals would have been to protect Rahaf, they would have not told anyone which airport she flew into, or the time frame she arrived in, or they would not have put her face in front of all the cameras. I mean, these are, they put her in front of like 40 high-definition commercial use cameras that are taking about 1,600 pictures of her. My God, like, you're trying to protect somebody? Anyways, if they really would have cared about her safety, they would have kept everything a secret. So, there was considerations of her going to Australia and Canada. If the true agenda was to keep her safe, like, don't you think the government would have been like, look, let's secretly talk to Australia. Let's make an agreement to which country she's going to go to. Let's not tell anybody which country we brought her to. And then once she enters the country, we're not going to make a huge deal out of it. We're going to give her a new identity, dye her hair, allow her to change her name, find her a new safe place, make sure that she understands what she's doing. We're going to train her for 3 months to speak English in a way that makes her like blend in with the local population. Like, that would have been what you do to actually protect somebody. But to parade her in front of cameras and say, this is the airport she landed in, this is the time she landed in, this is where we're going to put her now somewhere in Canada. I mean, yeah, this is how I know the Liberals actually don't care about her. I mean, maybe they should watch the movie, what's that movie with Julia Roberts? Sleeping with the Enemy. That movie, she does all of that. She dyes her hair, cuts her hair, dyes it, new appearance, new city, doesn't tell anybody where she's from. Like, that's how you protect yourself, right? So, anyways. Now, okay. Sorry, I got lost there because I digressed from my script. So, what I don't understand is, why does it take someone like me to mention this to the media and the government? Why I'm an average Canadian, like, average. Why am I telling the Canadian government that it's dangerous to bring her here and put her face in front of the media? Like, Jesus. Anyways, I really hope Rahaf is safe. She is, in my estimate, a genuine refugee. I still think she's going to have to be held accountable here in Canada. I think she's going to, I would require her to learn the language and to become a productive member of our community. That would be a good way to thank us for taking her in. I would expect her to get a job and pay taxes like the rest of us and not endorse Islam and go to mosque and all that fun stuff, because that's what you fled. So Rahaf, if you ever see this video, I really do hope you're okay. I do not want you to go back to Islam on Canadian soil. And yeah, I hope you're safe. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this and what you think about what our Canadian government has done here. And I will see everyone in the next one.